I will defeat the Powerpuff Girls, or my name isn't Mojo Projo.
Roxanne Starfield Savant versus Skullbriar, Breya, and Muldrotha. Plenty of mana and a means of refilling our hand if we want, so definite keep on this. Turn 1 mana crit from Skullbriar into the Signet, and that allows him into the commander on turn 1, and it does have haste, so goes in at Muldrotha. Alright, that is a Tireless Provisioner, so I was going to go for the Surveil land, but we can go for a mountain here into Sol Ring, and then that will allow us into Tireless Provisioner and a land drop next turn. It turns out most of us have fast mana, a Muldrotha Sol Ring as well. Breya gets down Izzet Signet, playing a Reliquary Tower, so the only means of green mana at the moment is the Golgari Signet, now has a Kami down as well. So we'll get 2+ counters on the Skullbriar, this time hitting us with it. No, actually I was trying to hold off on the Yavimaya so we didn't fix the green over here, but that means we can't go Tireless Provisioner now, doesn't it? Oh well, let's see here. Can't go for our commander, unfortunately. So we'll go for the Yavimaya now, and that allows us into Rhythm of the Wild against a couple of blue players, which is almost just as good a play on turn 2, I think. Alright, and don't feel bad about getting down Yavimaya now, because Muldrotha was going to do it anyway. Don't think our opponent was struggling on the green mana anyway. A Nature's Law, speaking of green mana. And the other one, 3 visits as well. Breya throws down a Reality Chip, so can decide if he wants to keep the top card before shuffling. And after that, a Mere Retriever. Don't think there should be anything in the graveyard yet, so it might be part of a combo. Going straight through to combat, and this time at Muldrotha, so that'll be 5 points of commander. And there we see, with 4 cards in hand, a Disciple of Bolas, so sacrificing the Skullbriar with 5+ counters on it, so drawing 6. Goes back into the command zone, so plans on paying 4 to get it back out again next turn. And then able to get a Varolz into play, so gonna rely on haste with the commander next turn, I imagine. There's a 3 visits, which I don't think we can get out here, although we'll be able to tap down the Meteorite for it. So yeah, let's go for a mountain and the Roxanne. We'll be able to give our commander haste with the Rhythm of the Wild here, so able to shock something twice. Alright, so Roxanne coming in with haste, enters and makes a Meteorite token, which will tap for 2 mana. So that goes on the stat. We'll get rid of the Varolz, just make sure that, yeah, it could sacrifice another creature and reanimate itself. So let's go for the Kami. And then when we swing in over here, we'll be able to try and bolt this out of the way. Alright, they should have sacrificed that in response and put a regeneration shield on it, but decided not to, so go into the right. And I forgot these come in tapped actually, so we can't go for the 3 visits like I said. We'll get another Meteorite token, we'll go after the Varolz, and if they want to sacrifice this, then so be it. Gets a blocker out of the way. Alright, successfully lose that. Alright, so hitting our opponent for 4 commander, knocking him back down below his starting life total. Sata Wayfinder going to dump some cards in the bin. Just a bunch of lands there, deciding to keep hold of the swamp, getting rid of Kaya's ghost form as well. A Cranial Plating's a fun one, and deciding to throw that onto the Reality Chip, so equipping and equipment weirdly. So this jumps up to a 4/4. I was looking at swinging in over here because the Guild Artisan will give us a couple of treasures then, but all depends on if this turns sideways or not. Alright, it does, and comes in at us. A tap Scry land for the Golgari deck. And that is the Ozolith, so able to dump a bunch of plus counters around if the Skullbriar manages to lose its counters somehow. Or actually, how is this worded exactly? When it leaves the battlefield, so yeah, if this leaves the battlefield with 5 counters on it, it'll keep them, but the 5 counters will still go onto the Ozolith. So see this coming at us, I imagine. No, okay, going in at the Breya. Always surprising when a Magic Online player isn't reactionary. Decides to protect against some commander damage, which is probably a good idea, and throws away the Mere Retriever. Right, so let's see if we can do anything here. That is a Crime Novelist, and we're going to have some treasures, so let's see here. Go for the Tireless Provisioner first. And not all that bothered about swinging in with that, so we'll put a plus counter on it. Then we can play a land, which will make us a treasure token with the Tireless Provisioner. And then a Meteorite can tap for a couple of red because our commander's in place, so let's get down the Guild Artisan now. And then we'll swing in straight down the middle because this player has the highest life total, so we'll get a couple of treasures from this thing. Triggers the Roxanne for a meteorite in tapped, and that'll be 2 damage onto the Disciple of Bolas, which I imagine there's some reanimation stuff in here, but whatever, we'll make them use it. And there's the 2 treasure tokens as well, which will each tap for 2 mana. Didn't particularly care about Roxanne when I first saw it spoiled, but I think I've seen some arena gameplay or something. Maybe looked at some deck text, can't remember, but do actually have high hopes for this commander now. If we can keep hold of the meteorites, they'll somewhat pay for her command attacks, assuming that she goes down regularly. Right, so now we can do double green on a meteorite. Let's play 3 visits. That will make a treasure token and make it free. In fact, we actually go mana positive with that. So making a treasure with the provisioner when the tiger enters. Let's go for a crime novelist as well. And then we might as well wheel because we're going to have a surplus of mana here. So that can come in with a plus counter as well. And then let's crack the Bloodstained Mire. Make another treasure with this. And we'll go for the Cinderglade simply to have a land come in untapped, because we don't know what we're going to draw into off the back of the Wheel of Fortune here. So we get 3 mana from the treasure tokens thanks to the crime novelist. It sees an artifact getting sacrificed and gets a plus counter and a red. So then it's Wheel of Fortune with all this mana. Gonna add cards to these players' hand, but at least the Skullbriar has 7 cards in hand already. So that was a momentous fall, which they would have drawn cards with anyway. Duskfang Mentor, Phyrexian Arena, and Vigor. I've got Marionette Masters, always good to get rid of. Lithoform Engine, same thing. And then we've upgraded the Muldrotha player's hand, I dare say. There's an offer you can't refuse, which he did allow the wheel through. Heroic Intervention as well. Vigor is shuffled into the library anyway from Skullbriar's deck, or from the graveyard into the deck. And now we've got Hammer of Nizam for our commander. Can get a bit of card advantage off the treasures with the Facebreaker as well. So maybe just hold up Return of the Wildspeaker. Let's go for the Hammer of Nazan. Only have to crack 1 treasure for this thanks to the crime novelist. So tap a land, crack 1 treasure, play the Hammer of Nazan, and it does equip itself to make our commander indestructible, meaning that we can swing in with it freely to get more meteorites and trigger this more often. So yeah, we're just holding up Return of the Wildspeaker, I think, to get a big grip full of cards in hand. Do we care about this? Yeah, I suppose we can play that and hope that our opponent doesn't wipe the board. Although we've got Rhythm of the Wild for haste, I forgot about that. So yeah, let's just pass the turn here. Even if Rhythm of the Wild goes down, we've got the Rising of the Day now. A Vessel, and you sacrifice this, reveal the top 4 cards. An artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker goes into your hand and the rest in the bin. A Vessel of Nascency into play, so yeah, you can get a permanent into hand off that and the rest go in the bin. And revealed to us there is a Punch of Lands again. Cyclonic Rift and Font of Fortunes. So yeah, they took the Font of Fortunes there, as you would expect. Then Skura Tribalder just continuing to ramp, followed by a Haywire Might, and that is Exile, so it can get rid of... Hammer of Nazan isn't indestructible anyway, but could get rid of something that's a bit of an issue like that. Probably Hammer of Nazan or Cranial Plating at the moment. Rhythm of the Wild's another good target. So Muldrotha on the verge of becoming a problem when it's able to keep replaying stuff like that. Reckless Fireweaver, that's something that we've got in this deck. Followed by Azorius Signet, gonna ping us all for 1. And another Azorius Signet, it's got the whole lot here. Followed by Eco Wellspring, so continuing to chip away at us. And that will cantrip when it enters. Now if the Mana Crypt lands here, a Lightning Bolt, then it'll dictate who we potentially swing in at next turn. Does get lightning bolted, so I'll have to go in at Breya again if we want to trigger the enchantment there. More fast mana in the form of a Sol Ring, and then a Corpsejack Menace, so adds additional plus counters. Does actually double them, that one. Alright, and then exiling this, that is 4 plus counters, flying counter, a vigilance counter, a trample counter, and a lifelink counter. So 8 plus counters going on it actually. And we don't have a flyer. So that is now a 14-14. And yep, comes in at us. So go for Return of the Wildspeaker now. Crack a couple of treasures. So we get 2 green and a red from the crime novelist. I'm going to crack the last treasure as well so that we can maximise the amount of power that the novelist has. So currently a 7/9. And we'll go for casting this now. I want to keep an equal amount of mana on both sides. We're hoping for something like a Chaos Warp here or a Beast Within. Not too likely that we'll get into it though. I think we're a little bit removal heavy on this deck actually. Okay, there's Blasphemous Act, which now won't get through the Skullbriar. Yeah, we wasted a treasure there unfortunately. Do have City on Fire though. Shiny Impetus can hopefully steer the Skullbriar away from us as well. So we'll just have to leave it at that. So we drop down to 16. Luckily have a Basilisk Collar in here. I thought the lifelink would be useful, but Death Touch allows us to better get through with the Roxanne as well. Because obviously the fewer times Roxanne's blocked, the more we can attack in with it. Alright, so let's see what we can do here. Get into a Lightning Greaves, which could be handy. Alright, so how is this worded? It's when we deal combat damage to a player, make a treasure. So let's go at Rootbound Crag first of all. Make a treasure token, and we can go City on Fire. It might encourage our opponent here to block, although we can swing in here now, can't we? Yeah, if we want the treasure we'd have to swing in over here, and the Death Touch might allow us to do that. So I'll tap down these meteorites and cast this City on Fire. Not going to tap down my creatures because we don't have too many creatures to block with at the moment unfortunately, but this will have our sources deal triple damage. So we actually could go for Blasphemous Act, and that would be 39 damage onto everything. Do have to be wary of this thing as well though. So we'll play the Facebreaker, crack a treasure to do that, and I think that can come in with haste. Maybe we swing in with that this turn. Then we'll play the Basilisk Collar as well, play and equip that onto the Roxanne, although argument to be made for the Crime Novelist as well. I'm hoping that this player isn't going to interfere with Haywire Might because Skullbriar is a threat at the moment. Yeah, let's throw it onto the Novelist, the Death Touch and Lifelink, just so that we gain more life here. And then we can go through to combat. On second thought, I will hold back the Professional Facebreaker, so Roxanne has to go into the right and we have to hope that she survives. And then, just for the sake of gaining life, we'll send that in down the middle. So Roxanne triggers on attacks, gets a couple of treasures and a meteorite, which will deal 6 damage at the moment, so we can get rid of this thing. Muldrotha holding up priority and deciding to allow it. So there's our 2 treasure tokens. The Corpse Jack Menace does go down. No blocks made here, so we are going to get a treasure from the Facebreaker, thanks to this thing hitting. Alright, and Skullbriar does take the risk and decide to block. I don't suppose there's much risk of that here now. Haven't played with Skullbriar ever since the keyword counters were included, but they do count when changing zones. And again, priority being held up. Yeah, okay, so it does go for hey, why am I exiling this instead of the indestructible? Yeah, okay, fair enough. That does take the Blasphemous Act off the table, but not sure we were going to do that anyway. I'm just hoping that the Shiny Impetus is going to save us for a turn or two. Noteworthy that he didn't allow us to hit his opponents for a bunch of damage with something like Crime Novelist. I mean, that would have been 24 points of damage here, so we would have gained a lot of life, but argument to be made for allowing it before getting rid of the triple damage dealer. Yeah, so what would this have been? Yeah, that would have been 18, so could have taken this out as well and forced him to replay it. I'm not sure about the timing of that Haywire Might, although a Blasphemous Act would take it out now, but he can easily replay it is the problem. Let's go for some more treasures being cracked then, and we'll try Escape to the Wilds, I think. See if we can get into anything relevant. And the more of these we crack, the further out of reach from a Blasphemous Act the Crime Novelist is, which has been a very good include for us, I think. So play Escape to the Wilds, exile the top 5 cards, and we can play an additional land as well. So there is a Goldspan Dragon, very nice. Reign of Riches as well. We've got until the end of the next turn to play these, so yeah, let's go for a Mountain from exile. Make a treasure token. Unfortunately, this thing does have trample as well, so the Goldspan Dragon with Indestructible won't necessarily be helpful to us. We may well have to go for the Blasphemous Act. So crack another treasure token thanks to making a land with the Tireless Provisioner. And we'll play ourselves a Goldspan Dragon. That can come in with a plus counter on it. Then the Mithril Coat will only attach itself to a legendary creature, but thanks to the Hammer of Nizam we can throw it onto the Goldspan Dragon so that it will survive this Blasphemous Act. So crack the last treasure, and that will buff up the Goblin enough to survive the Blasphemous Act, like I said. Get down Mithril Coat, so we'll go Mithril Coat pointed at our commander, but we can say no to that. Hammer of Nizam puts it on the Goldspan Dragon. Oh, actually, I thought it was a May ability. That's annoying. So we've wasted some mana here. Gonna have to waste some mana re-equipping it. Ugh. Yeah, that is annoying. Could have had a Lightning Greaves down here. Oh well. Yeah, the Hammer of Nizam is a May ability, but the Mithril Coat isn't apparently. So anyway, hopefully no harm done. But would have been nice to have the Greaves in play. We'll go Shiny Impetus onto the Skullbriar as well. And obviously decided not to go for the Blasphemous Act play. Just have to hope that this thing actually sticks around. So even if we get taken out by this thing, I'm glad to see that we've been able to show off what we want to do with Roxanne. It's been a very fast-paced game, I think, thanks to the fast mana. Skullbriar is scary at the best of times, but if you get into a very fast start mana-wise, it's even more scary. Temple of Melody here as well for Muldrotha. Muldrotha into play with just 1 mana held up, has decided to leave Obscura Tribe Elder this whole time. And then Kaya's Ghost Form we saw previously protecting Muldrotha. Breya coming into play for the first time has 5 mana held up, so could get rid of some blockers from us actually. Debuffing with -4/-4 on the Goldspan Dragon will get an indestructible out of the way. And then we see a Soul Herder, so likely to flicker the commander. And that will continue to peck us with the Reckless Fireweaver. So this is why I do like to put a little bit of lifelink into a deck, especially if we've got a little bit of an equipment sub-theme. Do like Shadow Spear and Basilisk Collar for that. Anyway, the Soul Herder at the end of the turn, flickering the Breya. Double blue is held up from our opponent as well. Alright, so we're at 16 commander damage on the Skullbriar. We go down to 18 life, and I think it's time to see if we survive this thing. They're in green, so they could get rid of the Shiny Impetus and turn in at us. They can trample straight through the Goldspan Dragon anyway. Even if we'd gone for the Blasphemous Act, I think they could have afforded their commander and just swing in with haste straight away. I don't think there's too much different we could have done. A means of giving the Meteorites Death Touch would be cool, but doubt there's a means of doing that without turning them into creatures. Playing a Soul's Majesty, going to draw a heap of cards, 18 to be exact, so should definitely get into a means of removing this, I would think. 22 cards in the hand now. And then Asceticism, going to give his commander Regenerate and Hexproof, so now going to be very, very difficult to get rid of that player. It's just creatures have Hexproof though. We do have a means of direct triple damage as well. What is that card called? Yeah, with the Crackle with Power. So hopefully still be able to get rid of this guy, but we're not drawing into too many cards. Swinging in, but it can't be at us because this is goaded, so makes us a treasure token. We could maybe exile that with the Facebreaker to try and get into something. And it's 18 commander damage over here. Does have Thopters to block with, which might make the difference. Can debuff as well, like I said. But is on commander damage at the moment, unless he blocks with a couple of Thopters. Oh, it's 4 commander damage from Roxanne, not from the Skullbriar, so he can afford to take it here, and looks like he is doing. So jumping up to 73 life, down to 10, and a plus counter. He's getting into the realms in which you can one-shot people, although I think everyone's been hit by this now, so we're already there. Okay, so let's see what we can do. Breya going for something now at the end of the turn, probably to interfere with us. Cracking the Eco Wellspring to draw. And yeah, going -4/-4 onto our commander. I mean, our treasure's tapped for 2 mana now anyway. The Meteorites won't without the commander at least. But Goldspan Dragon treasures will. So we could just drop a Rogue's Passage and punish him for that. Go in with the Crime Novelist, but I'm not thinking that's the play here. As it turns out, we don't have too much going on at the moment, really. Alright, that is a Hit the Mother load, so discover 10. If the discover card's mana value is less than 10, make tapped treasure tokens equal to the difference, and they are tapped, unfortunately. Would have been nice to cast that into a Reign of Riches, but didn't manage to get that down last turn. Play Forest from exile, make a treasure token with the Provisioner, which has done work for us this game. And then we'll get down the Roxanne for, it will be 7 mana. Could get down Lightning Greaves to give it haste, but do we care about swinging in with Roxanne? I mean, what are we going to shock here, really? there's no way of dealing with the Skullbriar, really. Unless we go for this. I suppose we'll have to go for that, won't we? Yeah, let's just go for a plus counter, and if we have to play Lightning Greaves, then so be it. This is where it could be relevant that we didn't get the Lightning Greaves down on the previous turn, thanks to the mess up on the stack with the equipment. So a Meteorite comes down, and we can hit Breya with that. Not sure what going after the Roxanne. I'm not sure what our opponent was planning with that, to be honest. Right, so our Meteorite's tap for mana again, so let's go for hit the Motherlode. See if we can get some kind of removal. Although I don't think even that saves us against the Skullbriar. And if we get excess treasures, which we probably will, then... there we go. A Demand Answers. Ironically, we could sacrifice a treasure with. So cast without paying the mana cost. And we'll discard a land to it. Allows us to see some more cards in hand at least, but... yeah, if we get a bunch of treasures into play here... discard the land, please. Then we can exile them with the Professional Facebreaker, exile the top card. Okay, a Bonehorde Dracosaur. That only cares about the upkeep, really. We've got a Crack Open as well, which is a treasure token. So with this board state, it kind of pays for itself. We might as well go for it here. Point that at the Asceticism, so it destroys that and makes a treasure token. Now let's exile some treasure with the Facebreaker and see if we can get into anything relevant. That does count as sacrificing, so the Crime Novelist still gives us a red mana for doing that. And it's a mountain to start off with. If we're going down next turn, we'll probably just get rid of most of these treasure. And a Tali. I mean, that'll just be fun to play, won't it? So let's crack for some mana. Play the Atali. And see if we can get into anything decent here. Might as well give that haste, I suppose. Alright, what have we got here? A Hermit Druid. Hilda's Crown. Tap a target creature. So if we hold up mana for that, that will just answer the Skullbriar, won't it? Got a Pirate's Pillage as well, so... yeah, just cast all of these. Doesn't really matter what order we do it in. We've got a Landfall card there as well for some more treasure. And Pirate's Pillage gets rid of a Forest from hand. Alright, draws us into Hedron Detonator. And a Reaver Cleaver, which is pretty good with this. Although we can't take this player out if we want to keep hold of the Hilda's Crown. So let's go Commercial District into play. We can surveil something on top of our library. And that is a Kessig Wolfram, probably worth keeping hold of. I wish I'd gone for the Rogue's Passage now. Could have flipped this around and had it unblockable with the Rogue's Passage and gone in over here. Not to worry. I don't think Kessig Wolfram is going to be all that relevant, to be honest, so I'll risk putting it in the graveyard. Yeah, do we just go for the victory now? Try and make a bunch of treasure, and they come in untapped with this, don't they? And then if we lose to Skullbriar, then so be it. Yeah, why not? Or actually, we can tap this out of the way, can't we? What am I thinking? Yeah, of course, we can just do that now. So, tap a target creature, now that we've taken Hexproof off it. Add a bunch of mana with our treasure. We want to flip this around, so we'll use some Phyrexian Life to do that. So Atali going to be transformed, hopefully. Turns into an indestructible. Might still be able to get rid of it with all the free cards in hand. Let's make some mana with the treasures because we want the Reaver Cleaver on the Crime Novelist. And this will come into play and still equip itself for free because the hammer is in play. Don't mind getting rid of this player now because we've already used the crown. So we can take it with him. And instead of tapping down a land for the Lightning Greaves, let's go for exiling a tap treasure, because that'll make a mana with the Goblin anyway. We can have a look at yet another card. Okay, just another land, so we'll go Lightning Greaves and put it on the Atali, I think. And that'll dictate our attacks if it doesn't go down, or does. Alright, so Atali is allowed. Could still be a fog effect or something like that, don't often see those though. So we'll finally go through to attacks. I do appreciate my opponents playing this out. Haven't won yet by a long shot. So Crime Novelist down the middle, Goldspan Dragon to the left, and Atali hopefully taking out the Skullbriar. Goldspan Dragon triggers and makes us a treasure token. No blocks being made. Seems as though our opponents are being good sports and taking it. Alright, awesome. So we take this guy down and Atali's trigger goes on the stack. Still have to dodge some means of countering triggers, although I don't think that'll happen. Professional Facebreaker going to make 3 treasures because we hit 3 players. Facebreaker and Crime Novelist are good cards, who knew it? And then we get a bunch of treasure from the Novelist as well, thanks to the Reaver Cleaver. So Atali about to resolve here, and immediately goes down to the 11 poison counters. Really didn't think we were going to deal with that Skullbriar player there, but just about managed to do it. A little bit clunky, but got there in the end. So we'll see if we can get rid of Muldrotha this turn as well. Putting the Hedron Detonator into play would have been useful. Could sack 2 artifacts and exile the top card with this as well, but we've got the Facebreaker, so don't really need to do that. Just continue to exile the tap treasure tokens that we made previously. Okay, Sylvan Library. An Unexpected Windfall, we'll just play that now. Discard a shock to it. Gets us 2 treasures. That is a Helm of the Host. Putting that on the Atali would be funny. Got Besaju as well available to us. Let's go Lightning Greaves onto the Commander. And we will go for the Helm of the Host play just because it's fun. And once again, Hammer of Nazan coming in really handy for us because it's going to make this only cost 4 mana. So throw that onto the Atali. Might be able to get into double token production at some point during all this as well. Put Greaves back before I forget. Exile the treasure again with the Facebreaker. Really just trying to get into a means of ending Muldrotha now. But it's just another land. And another land. There's a Cavern Horde Dragon, might as well get that in. Could be that our opponent has a board wipe, but if that's the case, then so be it. Speaking of which, I might as well put the Hammer of Nazan onto the Indestructible Big Trampler. Plus counter on the Cavern Horde. Alright, there's an Ancient Copper Dragon as well, might as well get that down. We're really playing into a board wipe here. But we do have Indestructible in play, so might just have to pass the turn at this point because our opponent's being really patient with us. Another land. And a Bootlegger's Stash. Yeah, I've been looking to... This was going to break the entire format when it was spoiled. Everyone was really worried about that card and don't understand why. I mean, I've seen absolutely no one play it. I remember the price of that card during the spoiler season was crazy. But it's particularly good in this deck because we can trade out our lands for treasure and the treasure taps for more mana in this deck. So let's just do it once just to show it. So tap down that land. Obviously if we have token doublers then we'd make twice as many treasure. So there we go. That 1 mana from the 1 land is now turned into 3 mana, 4 mana if you include the Goblin. Anyway, we'll just get down Reign of Riches and the Sylvan Library as well so that we can pass the turn over to our opponent. And if he manages to wreck our board, then so be it. I don't really like to play even more Solitaire Magic than we've already played this game. Might be that Reign of Riches comes in handy for us during the next turn. Should have got down the Detonator before that, actually. Forgot about the 2 treasures it enters with. So just get that down now. And we're safe to just leave it there, I think. So I do really appreciate my opponent playing it out, because we have taken a long time there. But there's every chance that we could get rid of this player on this turn as well, and not giving him the chance to untap is probably going to be a good idea. Might be able to... I doubt he'll be able to get his Cyclonic Rift back and overload it. Still not cracking that Skura Tribe Elder. So Muldrotha, just passing straight through the turn, may well be able to do something about our attacks. We'll just go in with the Atali Primal Sickness and make some token copies of that, or a token copy. May well be that he can still do something. Right, there's a Beamtown Beatstick, so that can give the Atali Menace. But I don't think that really matters here. See if we can get into anything off the Sylvan Library to end it here. That is a Blade of Selves. Just does pretty much the same thing as the Helm of the Host when there's only 1 player in play. So play out the Rogue's Passage, make a treasure. We could make the Atali unblockable, but I just want to try to respect my opponent's time in the last few minutes here. It's either our opponent is very respectful and patient, or he has an answer for us. It's not typical that an opponent will play it out like this. Right, so we'll just swing in with some big creatures here. Maybe they can put the attacking creatures back on top of the library or something, but that won't really matter. Helm of the Host makes a copy of Atali. Alright, so we see a copy of the backside there. Go through to attacks, and I'll hold priority during the attacks actually, because we can swing in with these big creatures. Alright, so with Goldspan Dragon on the stack, we can go for Rogue's Passage onto the token, and hopefully that will seal it. Treasure from the Goldspan Dragon will ping our opponent with the goblin creature, wherever it is, the Hedron Detonator. Obviously, if we've got triple damage in play, then that's better. Alright, so seems as though our opponent is valiantly taking the damage. Alright, and we do manage to take him down to -60 anyway, but it would have been 22 points of poison damage, so our opponent's gone anyway, but do appreciate him playing it out. I appreciate all three of my opponents playing it out. It makes hell of a difference to the content, I think. Yeah, really time-consuming one in the end, that, for us. We used a lot of our clock because we had to try and cobble together something in the end to try and get rid of the Skullbriar player. And individually exiling treasure with the Facebreaker is time-consuming as well, but yeah, Roxanne Starfield Savant is a lot better than I thought it was initially when I first saw it. Really fun one to play as well, so hopefully you all enjoyed watching it. Big thank you to the patrons for their support. You can do that with the link in the description below if you would like, and you'll find the deck list to Roxanne there as well. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.